My question today, from my understanding and my reading of both the Holy Bible and the Holy Quran,
Yes.
is that second to Allah Almighty, we should put parents first. But my question is phrased in a sense that although we should always respect parents and honor parents and their wishes and their guidance, is there any cause, I mean it's more of a personal question, is there any time and any cause then we should probably have the opportunity to disagree, and with exception to faith, such as on social and material matters?
Yes, first of all, please you can wait there.
Okay.
The young man, strong legs. Now, the question has to be rectified a little bit. It has wrong premise on which it is standing at for the moment.
Okay.
You said, according to the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible, after God, there are parents. While, according to my study, after God, there are prophets of Allah. Those who represent Allah. So, after God, if you qualified by including the prophets in what is godly and which is representative of God, then I agree with this statement, not otherwise.
Okay.
And when you understand this question as raised in this modified form, then you are also answered that if God and those who represent Him must be given priority over all others, then parents automatically belong to the top of the second group, which when confronts this first category will lose its validity. So you accept the instruction from your parents. Also the Holy Quran speaks of the government and authority and says whatever government is established, you must obey that government, the parents, etc. But whenever there is a difference of opinion between one authority and the other, then always follow Allah and His Prophet. So the issue is resolved.
My question, it's more relating to material and social matters rather than the religious side.
My answer covers that as well, because in ordinary matters, worldly matters, you will not find any contradiction between religion and the wishes of the parents. So I qualified my answer with that,
Yeah, I understand.
So it's already answered,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next questioner is Mrs. Russell.
Mrs.
Mrs. Russell.
Mrs. Russell, right?
Your Holiness, I would like to ask this question. Do you think it's essential to Islam that animals should be slaughtered by the halal method, or do you think it's just arisen from the conditions of the Middle East when there was no refrigeration?
I'll explain that. You see, the question again has to be explained. Question itself has to be explained first. I'm going to do it for you. You see, when you hear of halal and haram much talked about in a society like the British society, and when you hear the edicts of some mullahs that do not eat any meat slaughtered by non-Muslims, then you have an image of what Islam is all about, and perhaps you understand Islam to be dividing a line between people of Islam and others in areas of daily common usage which are common. Now, this is not the correct understanding of Islam. Islam clearly lays down those things which are forbidden for human consumption. And among those things which are counted in the Quran are the flesh of swine, those animals which died a natural death, those who died out of an accident, those who were strangled to death, and all such animals who were slaughtered with the name of anyone else animal other than Allah. So if they were slaughtered to the altar of some imaginary gods, then that flesh becomes positively haram for Muslims. In all the cases, in the rest of the cases, also those animals which are birds or animals of prey, which eat other animals' flesh, they are also forbidden in Islam, and you can't eat their flesh. Apart from that, the Holy Quran says the food of the Jews and the Christians alike, Ahlul Kitab, is halal for you. I don't know why the mullahs shut their eyes to this verse, because the way they understand the Quran, this verse has nothing to do in the Quran. Why should it be there? It's a very broad-minded teaching. It says of all Ahl Kitab, and this again is a very interesting point raised by the Quran, because Ahl Kitab are generally confined to the followers of Moses and Jesus Christ and those who stood in between. But the literal term Ahl Kitab applies to all religions which were founded on a divine book. So as such, I believe that the Hindus who do not indulge in idolatry, they should also be treated as Ahl Kitab, because they are founded on the book of Krishna, whom we understand to be a law-bearing prophet. So with this understanding, I assure you that this is the Ahmadiyya belief and practice, that all meat is halal provided it is slaughtered for the sake of human consumption. It is slaughtered in a manner whereby blood is lacked, because blood is haram, not the flesh. If it is not strangulated, if it is not beaten to death, then that flesh of the animal, which animal in itself is not forbidden, that can be eaten without any shadow of doubt. Only what you have to do is say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar before you eat the flesh. Now this is not only my interpretation of the Quran, this is proved to be the practice, the Sunnah of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, because we read in Bukhari, no other book than Bukhari, it is the most authentic book of traditions, that Hazrat Rasulullah sallam told some others who were doubtful about the quality of meat which they received from the Bedouins around, whether it was properly slaughtered or not, or whether it was slaughtered by Muslims or others. Muhammad Rasulullah said, no, don't indulge in doubts and speculations. If a meat comes, it is slaughtered for human purpose, then say your own Bismillah over it. And Bismillah, Allahu Akbar doesn't cost anybody anything. It just means in the name of Allah, and Allah is the greatest. So this is the true nature of Islamic injunction regarding the foods. Do you have any question based on this statement, please?
Just add that I understand exactly what you said, yes. A lot of people are worried about the actual method of slaughter, you see, and the stunning of an animal first seems to be in some way a little kinder than killing the animal and letting it go.
I'll explain that. You see, this issue is debatable whether to stun the animal first and then to slaughter is more benign for the animal, shows more kindness to the animal, or just the slaughter. Because I have studied this since my student days here in 1956, 55, 56. And I went to some slaughterhouses, I inquired from the from the people concerned. And because I know some of the basic sciences concerning this question, I assure you that it is not it cannot be definitely proved that the stunning does not hurt the animal, and it makes the death easier for the animal, and slaughter is a more cruel way. Because in Islamic system of slaughter, the artery, main artery, is severed immediately. You know, that sharp, and also the Holy Prophet has emphasized that you must never use a blunt instrument for doing this. And when the artery is severed, immediately with a sharp weapon, like sharp instrument, then the blood supply to the mind, to the brain is stopped therewith. And you think the animal is writhing in pain or this and that. It is writhing all right, but through automatic reflexes, not in pain. And that is why the Holy Prophet ﷺ repeatedly admonished Muslims not to slaughter animals any other way, by cutting them piecemeal, for instance. You have no right to do that. Do it this way, and then they immediately lose consciousness. Right? Thank you.
So the next questioner is Mr. Saraj.
Mr.?
Mr. Saraj, I believe. That's
Right.
Sorry, if I got it wrong, my apologies.
Question is, does the Ahmadiyya Jamaat relate to Sufism?
To
Sufism.
Sufism.
That's right.
Now, what is Sufism? Do you know?
Well, I have very brief knowledge of Sufism. I just wanted to know if it...
No, but when you ask a question about Ahmadiyya Jamaat and Sufism,
Yes.
what message will be delivered to you if you don't know what Sufism is?
Well, my understanding of Sufism, it came after the advent of Sayyidina Muhammad, and it was, and because it was after the advent of the Holy Prophet, does it really relate to Islam itself, actually?
You know, can I help you in explaining Sufism first?
Please.
So that the answer becomes understandable by others, and you as well. Please sit down. You see, Sufism is in fact relates to all that is cryptic. Now, when a religion speaks of form of worship,